and she happens to be a young lady who happens to be in Form 3. That is from King's College, Budo. I don't know how long she's spent in that class, but of course we know there would be people who would be in Senior 4, now they're in Senior 2, now Senior 3. She would be somewhere. But of course not in Senior 3. Senior 3 plus 2 years, you highly know where she would be right now. But because of COVID-19 and closure of the education institutions, and then the staggered reopening, then again closure, we had space for candidates. Now we want to look at the perspective of these students. We want to have a feel of the students, how this affected them, and more so now when they had the good news that schools are going to be opened come 10th of January. That is what we know from the Ministry of Education and Sports. And of course, to affirm that, we saw that is the release of the school's calendar that even stipulates the terms, how they're going to be, the holidays and all that. So now all hopes are in high gear because we know that actually we are going to have schools reopened in our country. Joining me on set is Nkajja, Janice. You're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm very eager to hear from you and your experience. How have you been? You've had the longest holiday, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, at first we were very excited about the holiday because we have never had this much time, free time. But then in the long run, it became a stretch that continued to stretch us. And we actually started to want to go back to school. This is something a normal student would not want. Even after being given a holiday, they would not want to go back to school. But COVID-19 has given us so much time that we do not know what to do with it. We have so much time on our hands, we do not know what to do with it. So this is when we actually realize how important school is. Yes.
I love that. You had holidays, reached a time, and you felt holidays, please end.
Yes.
Of course, these were forceful holidays, not the normal holidays. So let me just have this also on a lighter note. How have you spent this time? What have you been doing all along?
Personally, it was first at the beginning of last year. So we were just anticipating to go back to school. So basically between that time and around June, before they started stretching, everyone was just trying to cover up that time with class. Some certain schools opened up Zoom classes to try to fix that gap and try to engage students. But then after some time, when there was no hope of going back to school, they told only candidates are heading back, or it's just a few people going back. It became pointless. Many people gave up. I know very many of my friends who have made businesses and they're actually working it out. And you'll be surprised by how entrepreneurial and how creative young people can be when they are given the right time and and the right resources.
I love the word young people. You know, when we have youth leaders, the young people. Now we have senior threes, how young people can be. Anyway, very interesting. You're a teenager.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a long holiday. Some of them have started some businesses, you said?
Yeah.
Some of them have gone into a number of things.
Yeah.
Then when we see the president came up and mentioned that at least come next year, schools are going to be reopened. How do you perceive this news?
First of all, we are excited, at the same time confused, because we are tired of being home. We actually want to be engaged in school, but at the same time we are confused on how the system is going to work. We have spent 2 years no school at all. We do not know whether we are going to be promoted to the next stage or it's basically confusing us, because last year they sent us back to school. Then around, I think, was it April, they sent us back when the second wave hit. So currently we are hearing that Omicron is also another thing happening. So we are asking ourselves, will it be the same case scenario, send us for 2 months, then come back after? It's really strange, because we do not know what to do. Send us for 2 months, then send us back. It's becoming confusing to the extent someone said, I am not going back, Form 4 is enough. I am not going back to school. So we are having such case scenarios of students giving up because we are uncertain of what the future holds. It's becoming very, very hectic and difficult.
Well, let me take you to another interesting bit. When the school calendar was released, that was last week, part 1, if I remember very well. Yeah. Much as parents now knew, the mummies, the daddies were like, well, we have to look for fees. No doubt schools are going to reopen if all goes as planned. Because we also know that today His Excellency is going to be meeting the COVID-19 task force to give him an update of the current COVID-19 status. And we know that may have an impact. What the committee gives the president may have an impact on the reopening. So maybe there is that anxiety. But there was automatic promotion. I see the smile. Taking me back to my days, promotion was never automatic.
Yes.
We had average, the schools I went to, some were traditional schools. So we had that average, and I know you have that average. You have to score this average on out of the many. So here you are. One would say you've gotten things on a silver platter. Does that create anxiety, remedial classes as well? Does it keep you, you know, how do you perceive this? If you've been in Form 3, that automatic promotion, we'll see you to another class.
I feel we are very disadvantaged because we are the same people going to do UNEB. We do not know whether they are going to reduce the syllabus to compensate the lost time, because there is no way we can cover 2 years worth of work in one class or in 1 year. So we are worried because we do not know how, unlike last year where they were given an opportunity to complete a certain amount of time. Most of those people had finished a certain amount of time. They had school at home, they had homeschooling. For us who have 1 year to cover 2 classes, it's going to become very, very difficult, especially for candidate classes, to yield to the grades that they were originally working towards or the grades that they wanted, because it's not going to be practical or it's not going to be possible. So automatic promotion may look like fairy tales in the sky and may look pretty, but it's not going to be good because it's going to create a lot of controversies and a lot of loopholes in our education system. And I think that's one of the basic problems that we are going to face as a country.
So, excitement. So, are you afraid that maybe this could in one way affect the quality of the students that may be produced at the end of the day? Because we heard that they condense the syllabi. So there are certain things that you've been studying, they're not going to be studying. That is good news at least. Maybe you have less of the burden. When I was in school at P7, you were more or less a backpacker. You know backpackers?
Oh, I don't think I know that.
These are sometimes tourists that come in and they have these huge bags on their back. On their backs, you know, there's the mattress, there's the saucepan, there's everything. So they keep moving those big bags. So when we were in school, we were more or less backpackers. And we had so much books, so much. But now we hear that syllabi has been condensed. So you may have less. And also examinable may be less. But are you afraid that this may affect the quality? That maybe a senior 4 candidate then, who was not affected by COVID-19, and when you were a candidate, their scope, their output could be limited?
Definitely, definitely. It is going to affect the quality of students because we are looking at students all over Uganda. Some more privileged than the other. This is a basic fact of life. Some have had homeschooling. Others have not even gotten access to the government reading material. So such students are very disadvantaged. Some students have actually completed the syllabus through their homeschooling. So some may not be as affected as the rest. But we are looking at the basic Ugandan, the one who attends a universal primary education institution, or one whose parents are struggling to provide fees. So even after going back, they'll be in and out of school because of the school fees structure. This is basically going to, even on an average year without COVID, there are people who cannot afford certain school requirements and they're in and out of school.
We used to refer to them as defaulters.
Yes, yes.
And I find that also, please teachers, headmistresses, wherever you are, let's not call these defaulters. They don't pay school fees. It is their parents that pay school fees. Why call them defaulters? I find that a mean word to use. Maybe they could, I don't even know that word we can use. But at least, yes, those are always in and out of school, not because they want, but because circumstances have made it that. So even what we think will have that smooth term, we forget that there could be those that may not actually have the weeks as stipulated?
Could is even the wrong word. They will be those.
There will be those.
Yes, and that's a very big disadvantage because leave alone the average child going through such situations. Certain people have certain family issues, and then they have to carry the burden of school at the same time, being chased out of school, coming back in school. So basically, I feel there should be a system for such students, or basically all students in Uganda, because there are those going to international school. They have been actually in school for these 2 years when the rest of the country is doing nothing. So basically this division in classes is actually going to create a very big loophole in the education system, because the youth we are going to, or the young people, or the candidates we are going to produce between 2020 to 2023 is going to have a lot of loopholes because of the different educational structures, the different educational loopholes we have faced in these past 2 years.
While still looking at a reopening of schools amidst COVID-19, and today I have a student, and she's giving us the plight of students. They better understand. Many times we've spoken for them. The ministry officials, now it is them speaking, and I have Nkajja who is representing many that are out there. We want to understand. Talk about, there have been a number of issues and challenges. Praise the name of the Lord, you've not been anywhere near to these challenges. We've seen some young girls who have gotten pregnant. Yeah. You've seen some young boys who've gotten involved in a lot of filthy things. Yeah. Some have resorted to alcohol. Yesterday I met a young man. Actually, he's in senior 3. He was staggering. Yeah. He's learned alcohol. There are those we've seen in a lot of criminality. From a student's perspective, how have you prepared your mind? Because, you know, for effective learning, it's not only about you sitting in class. Yeah. But psychologically, you must be fit for learning. That is why sometimes teachers will either give you a break, will tell you stand up, maybe run around, just to ensure that the body and mind are in class. How have you prepared yourself, the body, the mind, that when school officially opens, you're fit? I know there are a number of experiences being home for all this time. Yeah. Maybe much as you could be privileged to have these reading materials, all that. But even that waking up, you know, you've been used to waking up by then maybe at 5. Now you wake up at your own time maybe. So how have you prepared?
I don't think that would be an issue because school is school. You adjust. It's a must. You have to adjust. School has this feel. There's a reason as to why we opt for a school where you gather and commune, because the experiences you learn from each and every one, because we come from different backgrounds.
Definitely.
I will come back to school and my friend will tell me about how their holiday went. I would get a picture of how they spent their time, how they struggled. It will give me a reason to want to study harder. It will give me a reason not to disappoint my parents who have been able to provide for me. And for the young people out there who have been gone through things like teenage pregnancy or rape, honestly feel it's society in general that has failed to raise the child, because back then they said it's a village that raises a child. Right now, it's to whom it may concern. This is the biggest challenge we are facing as a society. Society today is looking at the girl child a lot. Educating the girl child, we're empowering the girl child, put them into educational institutions, vocational students, and they're completely neglecting the boy child.
Very true.
They are giving power to one side while ignoring the other. This is going to cause a clash because it takes two to tangle. Girls do not rape themselves. Girls do not impregnate themselves. When you give young people a chance to relax or to be redundant and idle, this is what happens. They are giving girls so much education, so much sex education, so much to take in, and completely neglecting the boys. They are destroying this nation because they're empowering the women while ignoring the men. This is going to create an imbalance in power. Basically, they are creating redundant young men who are going to be husbands who beat their wives. Domestic violence. It starts from a very young age when young people are not given the attention to do these things. So I honestly feel that boys should be involved very much more. Because if we are able to balance both sides, if both genders are busy, if both genders are looking towards their goals, if both genders are working, if they're occupied, there's no way such things will happen. COVID exposed the pregnancy rates, young girls going back to school for their UNEB pregnant, and they keep on blaming the boy child for being idle. They keep on blaming the parents of the girls for not being there for them. But they have failed to understand that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Keep the boys busy. Keep the girls busy. If we engage young people with things they love, technology. Young people are so brilliant with technology. But if you get the chance to tap into that side of them, we will be able to curb such vices instead of focusing so much on one side and ignore the other.
Very interesting. Don't ignore the boy child as a father of a boy. Very important and very interesting there. Well, sometime it was about vulnerability in our country. We wanted woman emancipation. We wanted to ensure that the women are also brought to some stage. That is why we focused more on that. But I love the fact that now you've noticed, and many are noticing actually, beginning from us in the Anglican faith, our Archbishop, he's one who is leading campaign to ensure the boy child is not neglected. Because these are the would-be fathers. These are the people now that they are calling and telling them the child has to go back to school, and they're not bothered because they were neglected at some point and they don't see the value. That's why you see that many girls now are educated by their mothers, yet the fathers are there and they don't care. So that's something I believe the young people have spoken. The big people or the adults take moral leave from that. Still looking at the reopening of schools. We know there are many that will not return.
True.
But we also know that there are a number that will return. But it is very important. You've mentioned that when you share experiences, you get to appreciate what your parent goes through to get you to school. We know there are many students out there that this time may feel not going back to school. Not because the monies are not there, but some have earned pennies. Some, the exposures they have gone through, leave alone the pregnant ones. But the exposure they have gone through, they have lost interest. And I know one of the things is a peer speaking to you. I want you to speak to them. Those that feel, 2 years out of school, going back, I just want to quit.
Okay. So first of all, school is very important. Why? School mimics the real world, if you actually look at it. Because these are people, they're not your siblings, you have never met them, and you have to come in one place, learn to live with each other, bear each other's insignificances or differences, whether in character or wealth or whatsoever, or background. School is a mimic of the real world.
I love the word worth. Very interesting, you know. It's all about bearing character, a background, but also an element of wealth.
Yes.
Where there are those that come and you're like,
wow. Yes.
And then for you come and you're like, I think I'm the pauper here, but you have to bear. So if you're there wherever you are, do not, and you're going back to school, I remember our days, there are those, until it was restricted. We used to carry suitcases, and for us we had boxes and marebe. I don't know if you've ever seen the new kids of this generation.
Yes, we do.
Sure.
Yes.
You ever seen those
They still exist.
Okay. So you come with your karebe, small one in size. Then you see this guy has brought or made out of ivory, I don't know, suitcase you've never seen in the entire, even on movies you've never. So this person brings it. Remember, one came with a golden one, and you know, so sophisticated, was placing buttons open, and we check almost. It's like, hey, okay. And it wasn't only one. There were two. One for clothes, the other for eats. So this should not disturb anybody as you go back to school, because that is life. They always the haves, have-nots, but sometimes like the world brings us together and school mimics that. Continue.
Yes. So school mimics the real world. what you have seen or what you have experienced in these past 2 years is not even an eighth of what the real world is like. Because right now young people are living with their parents, so when it comes to food or security or transport, these are things they can ask their mom or dad, and they are able to provide. The real world, you are all alone. The real world does not care. The real world is harsh, and the real world is out to get you. School teaches you to handle the real world in a way. School, first of all, teaches you to deal with different people from different social backgrounds. Because we're going to go out into the real world, enter the real working field, and you'll meet these same people with similar characters from those you met back in school. So school teaches you to be to coexist with others. Secondly, school teaches you to be what's the word? I'm forgetting the word. A critical thinker. Because in school we interlive with each other. For example, I may not be as good at maths, but my friend is good at maths. So if I'm friends with this friend of mine, they will help me be better at maths. So school helps you to coexist with others. It teaches you that you have to depend on each other if you are to survive. So today there are people who think that they have made it just because they're able to earn 300,000 in a week. That money could go away. This person is employing an underaged person or whatsoever business you have created. Dynamics in market change. You are not certain that after COVID, your mask business will be as profound as it was before. School is very important because it's not only giving you a step ahead in life, because it lays for you a clear foundation, gives you a clear picture on what the real world looks like. So if you think of dropping out of school, yet you have the opportunity many do not have, it's a big injustice to yourself, to your parents, and to your society as a whole, because an educated person is different. They will understand, they will not judge you, because they have been at spheres where there are very many people and they're able to understand them in different ways.
They're able to understand that people have strengths,
yes.
They have weaknesses, yet these differ.
Yes, exactly.
Let's look at also the teachers.
Yeah.
You're going back to school, that is on the 10th, God willing, as planned. We hope nothing will change because both parents and the students are eager for the reopening of schools. But anyone who has gone to school, there are times when you make such statements like, I think she woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And you're referring to a teacher. You've heard that?
Yeah.
You just wonder what has happened to Mrs. Kasule today. What has happened to Mr. Sansa? You just don't understand that.
Yes, yes.
We know teachers have equally gone through a tough time, like maybe students have, and maybe a tougher one, because for them some are their sole breadwinners. And you're going back to school. How best do you think we can have this teacher-student relationship improved from the student's perspective?
First of all, believe it or not, teachers are always our first role models.
Sure.
Yes, it's very, very true, because we spend most of our time with our teachers. That's a fact. We spend, in fact, 2/4 of the year with our teachers. So students, however much they mock the teachers or bully them or make fun of them, teachers have a great impact on a child's life. Because what a teacher speaks unto you, if a teacher says, you will be someone great in life, you move with it. If a teacher speaks unto you, if you don't pass maths, you'll not be anything in life, it hurts you as a student. So teachers have a great impact on us, and we appreciate them because you are handling someone's child with all their drama from God knows where, but they bear with us and they teach us not only the academics work, but also values. So the teacher-student relationship is basically one that only the two can understand, because my relationship with my teachers may not be another student's relationship with their teachers. So I basically think that the only way we can do this is to appreciate each other, understand each other, and understand that we have all gone through a bad time. Let's not make it difficult for anyone to adjust, because this is not the time to crack jokes. Yes.
I'll now look at the standard operating procedures. school is not going to be the same.
Yes.
There are those that since March have never stepped in any classroom. For them, they have had there 2 years and rule 2 years. And now you're going back to school, you have to have a mask on. Social distancing, I don't know how that is going to be carried out. Well, knowing that if they open all classes together,
yes,
you're going back in the same dormitories. I don't think King's College has constructed a dormitory during COVID-19 that they're going to have these meet the distance given at least a maximum. You're going to go back on the same double deckers, one up, one down. But let's look at SOPs. Do you see this practical? Because in the first, when we first, we first opened briefly.
Yeah. That's
around April. Then we closed. Do you think, or in the deepest of your mind and being realistic, that SOPs are something that is going to be implemented from the student's perspective?
Not even from my perspective. Technically, I don't think it's going to be practical. These are people you do not know where they are coming from. Gathering in one place where we know you don't know if they have Delta or Omicron, or they're all gathering in one place. Students are not going to keep on their masks all day, all day.
Definitely.
It gets so hot, especially last year when they opened partially. So we were in school, but in the mid-afternoon, those masks get so hot, you will find the whole class taking it off because it's not bearable. So this is a major loophole, in fact, the stakeholders have to look into, because in case we are attacked in institutions with the virus, that's going to be very, very bad. I do not know how they will work that out. But regardless, we have to go back to school. But when it comes to SOPs, however much we try, we are students. We'll go back to the dormitories. We will share. We will shout. We will scream. We'll hug each other. We haven't seen each other in a long time. If adults do it, then what do you expect of us? Because it's very, very difficult for us.
Sometimes we're told that it's easier for you because in the school institution, order is order. In case you're not seen with a mask on, you're either going to face any form of punishment. So sometimes we're told, for the young people, it's easy to implement. It's easy to implement.
No, it's way worse because we are rebellious by nature. We are at the center of our lives when we are rebellious. We are rebellious. We don't want to be told what to do, and that's one of the biggest problems that we are facing. So that alone, that aspect alone, is enough to poke a loophole in that entire system. Yes.
Very interesting, viewer. Thank you for being with us. We are now looking at, in case you've just joined, it is the reopening of schools amidst COVID-19, and we are looking at a student's perspective, and of course, what we should expect, or the students should expect as a nation, of course, when we open schools come the 10th. According to the calendar that was released by the Ministry of Education and Sports, schools will be reopened on the 10th. And we were told, I was speaking actually to Dr. Dennis Mujimba, that was on Christmas Eve. Yes, I spoke to him on Friday, told him, Doctor, before I move and pay anything, please, pressure so much on me. I first clear this amount. He told me, no, Robert, we are going to open schools from pre-primary. That is come the 10th. And I said, okay, no worries. Schools are going to be opened. So we hope and pray that nothing changes. Remember, as we speak now, we have the Omicron, very, very, very highly infectious. It may not be that lethal, but very highly infectious. And when you look at the positivity rate today, I was shocked when I read the papers. We've hit 14 point something positivity rate, which has been at about 5.3, 0.1. Now look where we are. When you look at cases, that is something that makes some of us worry. But the good news is the COVID-19 task force is going to meet His Excellency today. And of course, they'll be giving him a report on the status of COVID-19 in the country. And usually he speaks after getting that. So maybe anytime we'll have the president speak. But for us, we are prepared. We are ready. Janice is very ready to go back to school and very excited to go back to school because the holidays were very tasking as well. And let's also look at another issue. You know, from the perspective of a child or a student or a young person, being out of school, some has been a blessing. Some have been able to learn a lot of things. Some have been able to mend broken relationships. Some have been able to travel. Because not all children have had the bad out of COVID-19. Some have been able to travel. What are some of those lessons that COVID-19 has brought as a blessing in disguise to you?
Oh, first of all, being on this show right now. If it was any other normal academic year, I don't think I would be seated here. But as an individual, this has been a time for me to grow, especially in my hobbies. I am very much into public speech and debate. So this has been a time for me to grow in those areas. I've had a lot of coaches, online coaches, because yes, I've had a lot of people help me out. I've made a lot of new friends in so many spheres. I've learned so much in regard to how the real world works, because this is the time I've been home. So I watched my parents each and every day, watched their struggles, got to finally understand what they go through when we are not around. Because normally we blind ourselves. We're at school, "Mommy, I do not have pocket money," and then she sends it, but you do not know what they are going through. So as a person, it has enabled me to grow psychologically, because I now understand certain things I don't think I would have understood if I wasn't
the
in this
routine way of doing things.
Yes,
You're back
exactly.
home for 3 weeks, go back. 3 weeks, go back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, it has been a chance for me to grow, and I appreciate it in that aspect. And it has opened so many opportunities to me. Yes, and I'm grateful for that.
Very interesting. There's always a blessing in everything. There's something to learn out of every situation, whether good or bad. And I hope, a student watching us, what is that you've learned out of this time? It could be a skill. Maybe one says, I've been able to learn welding, I've been able to carry out some home economics, I've been able... So there's something that you could have benefited. Look for the good out of the bad at such a time. And very interesting also is 2 years out of school for many. Yes, some had the exams, those are the candidate classes.
Yes.
So they're now moving into another class. Of course, you're equally moving into another class.
Yes.
Automatic promotion. Yeah. That is another blessing. But of course, remedial classes, that is something I'm still wondering how best it's going to be done, because we hear some schools even were studying in one way or the other. So for them, they will catch up, then others. But Janice, another interesting issue that I also want us to look at. We know now schools are going to reopen.
Yes.
We hope, we believe. But away from being home, we've been seeing so much some of these gatherings involving student. Have you had experience of such?
No. My parents are very protective people.
No, coming up for education purposes.
No. In fact, no. No.
Oh.
Because I've been home all the time. These are very unsafe times. So sending out your children to gather, it's really unsafe, especially now that it's not allowed to gather at all. You do not know if the person you gave your child is the right authority. So basically, I've not encountered such scenarios in my time.
Well, I've seen many that were doing that under, is it group planning and all that. Then you also had some teachers that were carrying out some teaching in some homes, visiting teachers. I saw some homes really eager to go back to school. Yes. But how does it feel that now, by the time they closed, you were in senior 3?
Yeah.
I don't remember that term.
It was term 1. Term 1, we were 2 months into term 1.
Oh, only 2 months into term 1.
Yes.
Now you're going to which class?
I'm uncertain. I'm also just waiting to see what class they put me in. I can't speak for the Ministry of Education.
You could be a candidate.
Yes, possibility.
Possibility, you report back as a candidate. Very interesting. Because there are senior ones that have to, you see, your place has already been taken.
Exactly.
You might reach and your stream has been occupied, so there is continuity as planned. But then, does this bring pressure on you?
Yes, a lot. if I'm a candidate, my parents expect certain grades from me. And it's going to be so strenuous for me to give such results, yet I have so much to cover in such a minimal amount of time. So basically, it is going to be very stressful. The teachers are going to be stressed because they have to handle all this, so they cannot. It's going to be very difficult for us to catch up, honestly. Yeah, that's my point of view.
Very, very interesting. And of course, we're sorry we cannot have your feedback today. That is on our social media platforms, but we'll see what we can do. However, we are still looking at the reopening of schools, and more so at a time of COVID-19. Very clearly known is we have the date of 10th, where I expect schools to be opening. And Janice is giving me her experience, and also representing many out there who would be in school and they have missed school for the last 2 years, or some benefited from the staggered reopening, and we are seeing how best they are prepared. One of the interesting things she talks about are the standard operating procedures, that these may be one of the hardest things to achieve when school reopens. And we are at a time when we are seeing our infection rates shooting up, our infection rates in terms of positivity in percentage are also shooting up, and we know that Omicron has worsened things because it spreads very, very fast, though it may not be that very lethal. Now let's also look at another interesting area of this. School close, preparing to go back. Have you had any form of preparation from the parents? Because we keep on urging parents, prepare your child psychologically for school.
My parents keep on telling me to read. Read your books. Read your books. You're going to be a candidate. You do not want to fail. So they constantly remind me. I sometimes pretend to ignore them, but it's at the back of my head that school is soon. I have to get ready, and whatever the future has for us, we have to be ready. And yeah, my parents have done a great job when it comes to reminding me to read on a daily basis. So yes, I think that's it.
Also, read your books, read your books. Dear parents, it's not only about reading the books, it's also ensuring that psychologically these youngsters are well prepared to go back and meet that other institution in life. Because one of the academic experts of this country, that is Fajil Mande, he told me that you have to prepare the body, you have to prepare the heart, and also the mind. That these three areas are very important. The person must be healthy, fit, but also psychologically ready for learning, and of course other elements will follow suit. Well, we are still looking at the reopening of schools, in case you've just joined us amidst COVID-19, and today I have a young guest, that is a senior 3 student from King's College Budo, Nkajja, Janice, with whom we are discussing issues regarding reopening of schools. Whereas here, she's very, very excited to report back to school, because the holiday was very, very long, and much as the excitement that came with it at first, later diminished when they are wondering when they are going back to school. Let me ask a very funny question.
Yes.
Are you ready to give me the honest answer?
I'm waiting.
Okay. Do you still have all your books?
Yes, I actually do.
Oh.
I'm one of those students they call what
bookworm? No, bookworm are those that would read so much.
Yes, still I'm in that category.
Oh, but you're bookworm as well.
But there's this student, the organized student, the one who has all the notes, the one. I don't know what term they give those, but my friends are always asking, Janice, do you have these notes? Janice, do you have that? And if I actually don't have the notes, then they are worried. Who has them? So I actually have all my books. I just pray that the rest have that too. Yes.
Okay, well, very interesting questions. Then also, what do you miss more about class?
What do I miss more? That would be the society. Because in class, we learn, but at the same time have fun. So in every class, there's always that That child who cracks the jokes, that child who annoys the teacher, that child who's always asking the question. So basically that feel to be in that kind of environment is what I miss the most about school. Yes.
And of course we know that school is very interesting as well. But we also want to know, do you have those experiences maybe that you feel that this time you wouldn't want to experience them when school reopens? Do you have those that sometimes you're like, okay, we are going to reopen school, but if this could change, if that could change in one way or the other?
If this could change, if that could... school in general, I honestly don't have such an experience. Because I've never been bullied. Never. Honestly, I can't think of anything on top of my head, because school is a place whereby you have to learn to adjust. Things can't happen the way you want them to happen. It's the way you adjust and learn to cope with them that helps you pull through. So I can't think of anything on top of my...
Well, it's been very, very interesting having you, Janice, and of course discussing more a bit personal, but also general perspective of students as we prepare for the reopening of schools. You've talked about these academic imbalances.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you a question first.
Yes.
Feel very free. If I asked you of top schools, what are some of those schools you'd mention?
King's College Budo. 2. Give me a list of 5.
Okay, a list of 5.
Yes, okay. So King's College Budo, Gayaza High School, Nabisusa, Namilyango College, SMAC, Nyakasura. Those are the schools.
Sometimes I don't see them when they are bringing out rankings in the papers. Best at campus, best in O-level, best in all.
Are you sure about that? Check your
consistently,
stats,
there's
right.
a school there that tops every time I look at it. Tops, it tops.
These schools are balanced. They will work on both your ethics and your grades. Budo is always among the top schools. Check your facts. So are the rest of the schools. These schools are they are traditional based schools, and that's why I love them, because they teach a child to be human. Basically, they have values they carry with them that not many other schools have, or many other schools front, because every educational institution is to teach academics, but what else? My mom always has, I think she says, yes, you might have the looks, yes, you might have the books, but what additional value do you have? She always says that.
So there's an element of integrity, modeling character.
Exactly.
Definitely. Well, Janice, I have to let you go in the interest of time and give Ruben that is space for sports. But what are your final remarks to fellow students out there that are preparing for the reopening of schools?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Stand up. Go back. Do your best. Gachali mabaga. So little done, so much more to do. You will pull through.
Well, there's no additional to that, because she has spoken, and when peers speak, they better understand each other. I'll leave you with Ruben. We know it's still the festive season, but don't forget, for me, I'll speak on behalf of parents, because that is now the category. The student has spoken. Dear parents, as you feast, 10th is not very far. So spare so much to ensure that you take back your children to school in a fair condition. Have a blessed day. Ruben is coming up next with the world of sports. Good morning.
It's the festive season and we love it. And that means it's time to celebrate with GoTV.
Come with me.
So get your GoCoder and GoTV value for 25,000 shillings to watch with the whole family. And if you're feeling extra festive, upgrade to our best package yet, GoTV Super.
Something to look forward to.
Download the My GoTV app for more information.
Super.
We all deserve a super festive season. And with GoTV, there's every reason